Hello and welcome to another episode, a second part of a fifth episode of Wrath of the Gods. This is what the battle lines were like when we last left off, and this turn we are hoping to push, we're going to launch a preemptive strike against the fleet that's moved out of port, which is 2 Invictus and 2 Xiphos class, and we're also going to try and take that forward operating base back. And so, hopefully, by the end of the turn, we will have battle lines that look something like this. This is, yet again, very wishful thinking on my part. So, we're going to be starting off with the KAS Grenadier, which is in an offensive position away from the rest of the fleet. It's got the last dive bomber on it, and we're going to be taking that off, and we're going to be heading over to those Invictus. We've only got one of these left from the slaughter last turn, which resulted in the loss of only 2 Xiphos. It wasn't great, really. I could have done much better off that. But we're going to be taking this DB1 off, and we're going to be flying over to the enemy fleet and just hoping that we can sink an Invictus with a single bomb, because I'm just stalling for time. They're out of port, I'm panicking because my fleets are nowhere near the same size as theirs, and I will definitely take a beating should our fleet come to blows like this. And so this is going to be eventful, to say the least. We're just flying over now. We're within range. I'm going to let guard mode do it because I don't trust myself after that horrendous slaughter last turn. So we're just going to... Guard mode's going to keep it nice and level. I've noticed that he hasn't put his ships on guard mode, and also that half of his ships are on opposing teams. So before I go in there, I make sure to switch the teams over and put them on guard mode to make it fair. Going to be just doing the best we can here with this one bomb. I let guard mode do it. I wasn't sure if we were going to bomb an Invictus or a Xiphos, and probably would have been better off hitting a Xiphos because quite susceptible to bombs, I found. But the Invictus seems to be, its name is Invictus because that's the Latin for invincible, and it certainly lives up to that name. Because hit with a torpedo, and you'll see we've hit one with a torpedo. I think we hit the same one with this bomb, and as he goes, the bomb's away, and we're gonna quickly skip to the ship to see where it hits, and it hits right on the front, which is not what I wanted. I wanted to go somewhere in the middle, hopefully between those two turrets. But we do blow off some armor. However, there is a supply unit with these ships, so that armor is probably just going to be very easily repaired, and then that ship will be back in tip-top fighting shape, and we won't have done much. Another explosion, just more armor, and that was all the damage we have done to this hulk of a battleship. So we are in trouble now. I don't think the engagement will come next turn. I think it will be the turn after it, but the ships are going to hurt. There's going to be a clash, and it's going to be big. I'm just landing this, see? Fully capable of being landed, which makes me happy. And now we're heading up to the forward operating base in the north. And we're going to be attacking with 3 of our new attackers, the KSA 9Ts. After a bit of a rework of points, I've managed to get these to take an extra 500-pound bomb, and so their killing capacity is even further, reinforced. Flying over here. I've shot this footage. I've recorded this because basically I'm in the middle of exams right now. Not in the middle of exams. I've got exams very soon, and I'm just really panicking about them So what I do is basically I do a couple of hours work and then maybe 10 minutes of recording this, and so you'll see that sometimes this footage skips a bit, and that's actually there. You see these sort of things where small breaks there. Those are actually where I've been stopping and going back to do my work. So this has actually taken me a while to record, as it were. Not all of them are pauses in the footage, some of them are just bits where KSP is lagging out. So yeah, this original footage here, this took me 4 or 5 recording sessions. Well, it wouldn't have done if I'd been sensible about it. This actual fight scene here took me 2 sessions, so you could say that's about 20 minutes worth, and even then this is sped up a ridiculous amount in editing afterwards, because otherwise this video would be upwards of 40 minutes, maybe an hour with everything. Most of the footage I have in these videos is sped up, because otherwise it's just gonna last ages. And so that's why there's this engine now sounds different from when it did earlier. It's just a pitch shift from when I've sped it up. Anyhow, you can see we launched some bombs using guard mode. I think we hit 2 of the anti-aircraft turrets, which was not bad. But more than anything, I'm hoping that we can get rid of some of the Ajax tanks. Any of them, just any of the Ajax tanks. Because if we don't, it's going to be difficult, because I have a plan, but it requires some of the Ajax being dead, and that's why we're doing the bombing runs with our attackers from up high, because there's a lot of AA down there. It only has 2 kilometer range though, so by staying out of their range and bomb them from up here and quite far away, we should be fine. You'll notice that my airplanes are up quite high. Basically we have like a 5 kilometer height limit for our planes, but we are we're saying over things like mountains and such, we can kind of ignore that rule, because some of the mountains are quite tall and our planes will just crash into the floor. So for this mountainous area, my what they call my KSA 90s have slightly max. Their higher service, their service ceiling is higher. Come on, pronounce your words, boy. And there you go. We're just lining up for another bombing run, another bomb away. Each of our planes gets their bomb out, and then they start turning away, diving out. I've noticed that all my flags have actually been white during this recording, and I've had a look back, and it turns out that the flag file had broke, so I had to go and remake it as best as I could, and I think I nailed it. So there's that. Another couple of bombs go in, nothing until we hit the radar emplacement with this bomb here, and I was hoping to avoid destroying the radar emplacement for a number of reasons, mostly being the radar emplacement can be captured, and I don't want to have to use a supply unit building another radar station. There is supposed to be a runway down there, but for some reason it didn't spawn in. None of the tanks are affected by it, because none of them are on the runway, so this hasn't actually changed anything battle-wise. Otherwise I would have made sure to go back and do it again. But so far it's just not showed up. Then it'll show up later though, because it's in one of the later attacks. So sometimes these just a bit glitchy, and I'm not really a fan of the runways, but I am in a slightly older KSP version. I have no doubt that it's improved. The mod has been improved in the recent versions. It might even be just my computer, so I can't even blame the mod developers, and shame on me for doing so. Trying to blame other people for my problems, no. But there we go, the radar station is down, and so the tanks now, if any fighters are there, well, let's be fair. Now the new Roman Empire has to spend a supply truck building a new radar station, which is, I guess, optimal for me. Some of these tanks have been hit by, have been near misses by bombs. They've lost some armor, but I haven't killed any of them, and I was really hoping to just get one. I select these all and fly them back to base, and then we'll be skipping over to the actual attack on that forward operating base on the ground. This is the super heavy tank Behemoth. It's big, it's very big. In designing stage, I wanted to make this as survival as possible, so it's got lots and lots of internal space, which allows it to take quite a few hits, and it's to the point where my light tank chassis can actually almost fit underneath this vehicle. It's ridiculously big, and it has a huge gun to go with it as well. Voice fell there. It has a 128mm anti-tank gun. This tank alone cost me 16 of my 22 launch points. So it's not something I deploy lightly. I felt it would be necessary. This is last turn's tank deployment though, and you've seen my turn 5 tank deployment already in the last video. Well, that's most of my deployment, and I've got a couple more. Oh, see there, a ricochet from an 88mm gun that would have absolutely decimated the KLMs. And I've realised that we're actually still in range of them, so instead of just sitting there and trading shots, I'm deciding to go and get closer. Because if I stay at long range, I can get sniped, and I don't want to get sniped because their gun fires faster than mine. And so even if this can take a beating, I'm technically at a disadvantage. Those guns can damage super heavy armor, and it's not. And this is a very, very expensive tank, so I'm really not wanting to see it hit by anything, and so I'm rushing it down the slope as fast as it can go with its limited engine capacity. Yeah, it suffers from some real life troubles. Its tracks use up too much electric charge for its fuel cells to regenerate, so it has to actually coast along most of the time so its engine can keep up, which I guess is a mistake on my part. We've got, again, we're just rushing in here as fast as we can, seeing if we can get some hits. We just try not to get shot, because long range tank duels, we've seen with the Ajax, can be devastating. We lost last turn 4, we lost a couple of KLM2s. Well, we lost one KLM2, and another one was very heavily damaged by just one Ajax, and we can't afford to be taking these kind of losses because we are small compared to the new Roman Empire. They have so much more manpower than us. Our losses affect us so much greater. And so we're doing everything we can. And that doesn't mean that the new Roman Empire throw their cobbles away. Oh no, by any means. Some of their stuff is really, all of their stuff is really well made. Their fighters are extremely maneuverable. Their tanks are damn near unkillable. And you're going to see just how damn near unkillable they are with this, yet again, demonstrated in this tank duel. I honestly don't understand how they're so durable. Usually, the tank who gets the first hit in wins, but you could get the first hit in against the Ajax and you'd still lose 9 times out of 10 because they could just take so many. But I have some pretty Matrix level shell dodging skills here, casually driving around the enemy shells that are flying in towards my tank. I'm, getting really comfortable, just quite happy. See, look, so skilled, just totally not small inclination changes being able to totally mess up the calculations of the gun. So just wiggle a bit when you're driving towards your enemies, and generally they'll miss. And I was applying the brakes every now and then and just making sure that by varying my speed they wouldn't be able to keep an accurate firing solution on me. It's good to just be able to maneuver, but as you can see, it also affects my accuracy, and I haven't hit that tank once yet. So this has been just basically this is going to be basically who runs out of ammunition first, I think. At this point, I'm thinking, oh no! Oh, that was a big hit. Oh, and we've lost all of our fuel. Our engine is gone. Our engine is completely and utterly gone. However, that was kind of the intention of putting the engine where I put it. Another hit from the 88mm goes in. No damage taken. Look, see, there's a big hit. That's a 128mm shell. Hit this dude. And he has lost some armour. He could not care less about losing that little bit of armour. This has now become a slugging match. Third shell comes in, no damage. This armour is holding up well, this tank is holding up well. The way I made it is so that the crew and the ammunition survives longer, because without the engine I can still fight. Without the ammunition and the crew I can't. So I've put the engine in front of the crew compartment so that the crew doesn't get immediately decimated by the first shell hit, meaning that even if this thing is immobilized, it's still firing, and that gives it quite a long fighting life. It's lost its engine, it's still fighting, and that Ajax I'd say it's almost as survivable as Ajax is in terms of raw, ability to take hits. And if I'd built the rest of my tank the way I've built this, I'm sure I'd have hardly any problems. You see, another shell comes in, but I'm only losing wing parts. These are just kind of like aesthetic parts to make sure that the wheels don't look terrible. You see there, that little, you see on the back I've got the nice slope, and on the front I've now got that jagged edge. That's just more wheel parts. And another big 128mm hit, and it doesn't care. Ajaxes just do not care for dying. They're not having any of it. It's ridiculous. First, another shell comes in, bounces off the turret. I am proud of this thing. I don't know whether it's worth deploying again, though. At the end of the day, this is a failed operation. Even if I kill this Ajax, the intended primary goal has not succeeded. I can't keep throwing tanks at the enemy that are this expensive if they're just going to get their fuel reserves wiped this far from the battle. It's not efficient. And so, although it's a tough tank to kill and it's taking hits like a champ, it's not an offensive tank. And we finally kill the Ajax, and it's taken us so long. We've lost armor, we've lost our engine. This tank, we can get a supply unit to it though now that we've disabled that. There's no other shots coming in, so we'll have a plan for it. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to move up a light tank anti-aircraft gun next to it so to defend it from air attack, and I'm also going to use my supply unit to fix its engine and its armor, and we'll keep it there because I can't attack with it again. And now you can see our deployments for this turn. 2 new cruisers, fallen back the carriers to protect the battleship, and the cruisers have fallen back with it. You've got some merchant ships, Pilum in the middle, Sabre on the left, Scimitar on the right, and we're digging in for a huge naval battle. Up in the forward operating base in the north, we've deployed 1 LTD-3 and 2 LTD-4s, which are my light tank destroyers, and they are going to be very effective in their role. Thank you for watching this video. Next turn should be out at some point, I'm not sure when. Happy birthday to my brother Fraine on the 28th, and I hope you guys will tune in next time. Bye!